violent extremism in Syria and Iraq, fighting in eastern Ukraine, and an approaching deadline for nuclear negotiations with Iran. These are some of the issues Kerry and President Putin met to discuss, setting aside differences to explore ways to work together on global problems. Kerry and Foreign Minister Lavrov briefed reporters.
From the Geneva communique to the removal of Syria's chemical weapons, I would emphasize that we have seen what happens when Russia and the United States work together. It is clearly possible to make real progress and make important things happen.
The solution of many pressing issues in the modern world depend on our well-coordinated joint efforts on the international stage.
Earlier, the diplomats laid a wreath honoring Soviet casualties in World War II. A reminder, said Kerry, of how much both countries have sacrificed to make the world safer. They highlighted areas of shared interest, such as confronting extremist groups like Islamic State in Iraq and Syria.
Russia is a very important partner in the global effort against violent extremism. And countering violent extremism is a first-order priority for both Russia and the United States.
But they remain at odds over Russia's annexation of Crimea and its support for pro-Russian separatists in eastern Ukraine. The U.S. accuses Russia of violating the Minsk agreements, calling for a ceasefire and the withdrawal of heavy weapons from eastern Ukraine.
There are certain disagreements between Russia and the U.S. about the genesis of this crisis, but we were united in the opinion that it should be solved only in a peaceful way, through a full implementation of the Minsk agreements.
If and when Minsk is fully implemented, it is clear the U.S. and EU sanctions can begin to be rolled back.
They have also been at odds over Russia's support for the Assad regime in Syria, where the U.S. is backing moderate groups and a political transition. Analyst Stephen Pfeiffer says Russia and the United States can cooperate.
There are many times in the past where Washington and Moscow were quite at loggerheads on some questions, but were still able to cooperate on other issues where their interests converged.
But the Atlantic Council's Alina Polikova cautions the level of mistrust is too deep.
We can't trust Putin as a mediator at the negotiating table. He may say many things in closed doors, but we can't really count on him to follow up.
The diplomat said they plan more meetings as they explore potential ways to address major crises around the world. Alice Salinas, VOA News, the State Department.